My Democrat colleagues continue over and over and over to try to demonize and vilify President-elect Trump. They just spent months trying to turn him into the boogeyman who is going to destroy this country and create chaos. Voters flatly rejected this attempt by Democrats to paint President-elect Trump as a fascist or a dictator, all kinds of names they came up with. Instead, they sent him back to the White House and gave him a majority in the Senate and a majority in the House. Yet here, my Democrat colleagues are again trying to use Donald Trump to scare their voters.
Every decision that has been made by this incoming administration so far has not been about the American people. It has been about them. I'm reading in the newspaper again this morning that they want to issue blank pardons to those who committed crimes on January 6th. Republicans call them political prisoners. I mean, these are people who were arrested, indicted, tried, and convicted by juries and judges in courtrooms across this country for violently attacking our brave law enforcement officers. People who smashed cops in the heads with metal barricades, who jammed them indoors until blood was coming out of their mouths. And the incoming administration is thinking about pardoning them? Let that sink in, everybody. Let that sink in. And before I'm accused of harping on January 6th, I'm not the one bringing it up. The incoming president-elect is. He won't shut up about it. So when I'm talking about my concerns over the bill we are considering here today, understand that these are not unfounded fears. The new administration is leaking plans to court-martial military officers who are not sufficiently loyal. Isn't that usually how things go in authoritarian dictatorships? Purge the military of anyone who might have a spine and refuse to obey an unlawful order. I mean, what the hell is going on here? And their cabinet picks so far? I mean, these are like beyond insane. Someone who is credibly accused of having sex with an underage girl. Someone who sucks up to foreign dictators and has attracted major concern that they can't be trusted to protect America's secrets from our adversaries. Someone who paid hush money to cover up a sexual assault accusation, to lead our military. He's picked because Donald Trump likes him on Fox News. Someone who says that tap water turns kids gay. I mean, this is the dream team? This is the dream team? Really? I mean, seriously, it would be funny if it weren't so sad. And hopefully, the United States Senate has a backbone and insists on a thorough confirmation process.
We have had our eyes opened to a lot in the wake of last year's horrifying October 7th attack in Israel. We have been reminded of how much anti-Semitism still somehow exists in our own country, and as we saw American citizens taken hostages by Hamas. We were also sadly reminded that many Americans who have been taken hostage or illegally detained across the world. H.R. 9495, the Stop Terror Financing and Tax Penalties on American Hostages Act, is twofold. First, it directs the IRS to disregard the time during which a person being held hostage for purposes of when that person filed their tax returns, paid income taxes, or filed a claim. This will also be true for their spouses. This is a small thing, given the circumstances they have endured, but an obvious one. So obvious that it sounds silly to say it out loud, that someone should not have to worry about missing the deadline to file their taxes because they were being held hostage. This bill also addresses abuses within the nonprofit sector that support terrorism by prohibiting these organizations from maintaining their tax-exempt status if they are found to have provided material support or resources to a terrorist or terrorist-supporting organization. After October 7th and the anti-Semitism that spread rapidly across campuses, the House Ways and Means Committee began investigating tax-exempt organizations to make sure they were not making contributions that would benefit terrorists. It seems fairly obvious that if your organization is supporting terrorist activity in any way, shape, or form, you should, at a minimum, lose your tax-exempt status. This bill is so sensible, it should have been able to pass under suspension, and yet somehow the Democrats still do not understand the wish of the American people. Americans want to protect their citizens and not support terrorism. It is that simple. I cannot understand how many of my colleagues voted against this bill last week, but I will be proud to vote for it again. This rule also provides consideration for H.R. 1499, the Committing Leases for Energy Access Now, or the CLEAN Act, which will provide certainty for U.S. geothermal energy projects. Right now, the Department of the Interior is required to hold a competitive lease sale every 2 years. However, some states have not had a lease sale for much longer than that. Under this legislation, the Secretary of the Interior must hold these sales annually and must respond to the permit applications within 30 days of receipt to let the applicant know if their application is complete. If it is, the Secretary has 30 days to issue a final decision. Geothermal energy is clean and renewable, making it a great way to expand America's energy portfolio and meet our growing demand domestically rather than relying on other nations. I look forward to supporting these two bills, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. I reserve.
Mr. Speaker, H.R. 1449, the Committing Leases for Energy Access Now Act, enforces unreasonable deadlines on geothermal energy permitting that shuts the public out of the process so my colleagues on the other side can do their favorite thing, shut out the American people and rush things through in a way that could harm the environment and hurt the public safety. That's what they're good at. The second bill is the so-called Stop Terror Financing and Tax Penalties on American Hostages Act. Mr. Speaker, I think we can all agree that families who are held hostage shouldn't be responsible for paying IRS fines or penalties. I mean, I think that's a no-brainer. I think, in fact, I know that it has already passed the Senate. We could take up that bill and pass it today, send it right to the President's desk. Or we could pass a House bill that's been introduced, which would do the same thing, ensure that hostage victims don't get charged IRS fines. If my friends had brought either of those bills up, they could be sent to the President's desk and signed very, very quickly, as I said. But that's not what we're doing, and that's not what we're voting on, because this bill, the one they're bringing up, has been hijacked and turned into a vehicle to give the incoming administration the ability to revoke the nonprofit status of any advocacy group they want, simply by labeling them as terrorist sympathizers. So that means the President will acquire the power to just unilaterally accuse an American group of terrorism and then shut them down. Now, I have to tell you, I just came back from a Codel in El Salvador. That's how they do things down there. The government doesn't like you, boom, you're a terrorist. But I'm sure the party that talks so much about weaponizing the government, that talks so much about reining in the federal government, that they have put some guardrails in here, right? Wrong. There are no guardrails. No guardrails for an administration that says it will go after the enemy within. Just a bill that gives them the power to do it on day one. This is nuts. A university has too many protests against Donald Trump. Terrorists. Environmental group suing the administration in court. Terrorists. Think tanks that think differently than Donald Trump. Terrorists. That's what this bill does. People say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Well, Mr. Speaker, the road to fascism in America is paved with 1 million little votes that slowly erode our democracy and make it easier to go after anyone who disagrees with the government. No due process or right to appeal in this bill. No proof required. Donald Trump says you're a terrorist, so you're a terrorist. It's beyond nuts, and my friends on the other side of the aisle know that even if they don't want to admit it. So, Mr. Speaker, I strongly urge a no vote on this rule and on the underlying legislation, and I reserve my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentlelady of Minnesota is recognized.
The truth is, under President Trump's previous administration, we had terrorists on the run, and Americans at home and abroad were safer than they have ever been under this administration. So while my Democrat colleagues are desperately trying to find a way to justify allowing American nonprofits to send money to terrorists, House Republicans stand ready to defund terrorism and make America safe again. With that, I yield back, Mr. Speaker. Reserve, I'm sorry. Reserve.
The gentlelady reserves. The gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Yeah, I just would respond to the gentlelady by saying it wasn't me, but it was Donald Trump who said he'd be a dictator on day one. It was Donald Trump who talked about the enemy from within and actually mentioned individuals who are in the United States House of Representatives and in the United States Senate. So forgive me if I'm a little concerned about somebody who would say such things on the campaign trail, and now coming into power again. Forgive me if I'm a little concerned about how he might abuse the power that my friends on the other side of the aisle seem so eager to give him. No due process, no nothing. Donald Trump says he doesn't like you, he'll label you as a terrorist, and he'll shut you down. I mean, they're talking now about recess appointments in the United States Senate. They don't want to do FBI background checks. They don't want to do confirmation processes where members of both sides of the aisle get to question potential cabinet officials and be able to find out whether they're fit for office. No, rush everything through, no questions asked, just take it, take him at his word. So no, I will say, I'm on the floor today sounding the alarm bells. We should be concerned. We should be concerned. Maya Angelou had this great line in which she said, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. People did not vote for this stuff that we're doing today. People did not vote for, recess appointments. People voted their pocketbooks, and I understand why. And so I just want the record to reflect that there are some of us who are raising the alarm bells because this is the time, quite frankly, people should be concerned, when we could actually do something about it, where we could put some guardrails into place so the excesses that the president-elect talked about on the campaign don't become reality. I reserve my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman of Minnesota is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do think it's rich that the Democrats are talking about, the President Trump going after these groups, because the Democrats went after, both under President Obama and under President Biden, have gone after conservative groups and tried to make them look like terrorists and trying to call them terrorists. And I think the bill simply wants to stop real terrorists and and stop those groups from receiving favored tax status under our tax laws, and making sure that we're addressing terrorism in the United States and abroad. And with that, I reserve.
The reserves. The gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
I reserve, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman from Massachusetts reserves. The gentleman from Minnesota is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'm prepared to close.
The gentlelady from Minnesota reserves. The gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, if we defeat the previous question, I will offer an amendment to the rule to bring up H.R. 12, a bill that would ensure that every American has full access to essential reproductive health care, including abortion care. Since the Dobbs decision, there are now 21 states who have banned or restricted abortion across the country. And without this fundamental right, women are suffering. In Texas, in Georgia, in Indiana, the number of preventable deaths due to abortion bans is rising. This is the grim landscape that the incoming administration wants to maintain and even worsen. And I wish I could say that it won't get worse, but we know Republicans are fighting tooth and nail to strip more and more rights from Americans. That is why we must pass H.R. 12 to ensure that every American has full access to reproductive health care and to make sure that women's rights are protected no matter where they live. Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to insert the text of my amendment into the record along with any extraneous material immediately prior to the vote on the previous question.
Without objection.
And I reserve my time.
Gentleman reserved. Gentlelady of Minnesota is recognized.
I'm prepared to close.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself the remaining time.
Gentlelady reserves. The gentleman's Massachusetts is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, once again, I do not believe any of what my Republican friends are talking about on the floor today is in line with what the American people voted for. They voted for cheaper groceries, not whatever the hell this stuff is. They are asking us to vote for a bill, my Republican friends, that would give the incoming administration the ability to revoke the nonprofit status of any advocacy group they want, just by labeling them as a terrorist sympathizer. A bill that would give President-elect Trump a new power to just unilaterally accuse an American group of terrorism and then shut them down. Again, no guardrails for an administration that says it will go after the enemy within. Just a bill that gives them power to do that on day one. Look, the truth is this. The truth is that this is not what people voted for. They voted for their pocketbooks, and frankly, I don't blame them. You know who I do blame? I blame the billionaires who have rigged our country against working people and spent the last 4 decades squeezing every penny they could out of people. I blame the politicians, including the incoming administration, who have abandoned workers and who have done nothing while the rich get richer and everyone else gets screwed. My friends on the other side, they want to blame trans people. Guess what? Trans people aren't the ones raising people's grocery prices. Big corporations are. They want to blame immigrants. And here's the deal. Immigrants aren't the ones denying health insurance claims, Mr. Speaker. It's the billion-dollar insurance companies that do that on a daily basis. And they want to blame woke this and woke that. What's woke about thinking special interests should not be able to buy tax breaks? What's woke about telling Chevron and Exxon that they can't dump toxic chemicals into our air and water? What's woke about thinking it's wrong to give tax breaks to billionaires while the rest of us get screwed? It is time for us to get serious about fixing this country and making sure it works for everyone. And instead, we have BS bills that allow the new administration to go after any group who disagrees with the government and shut them down. So my friends on the other side can keep doing whatever the hell this is. Good luck with that. But Democrats will be talking about the economy. We're going to talk about how we will make housing more affordable and lower your grocery bills. We're going to talk about taking on corporate greed and standing up to the donor class that buys off tax breaks for the rich and powerful. We're going to talk about the fact that billionaires pay less in taxes than teachers and police officers. And there is something deeply wrong with that, and it needs to change. And we're hearing from the Republicans already that they're planning a tax package that will what? Not help the middle class, not help those struggling to get in the middle class, but again, more tax breaks for the well-off and the well-connected. Really? Do you think that's what the American people voted for? We Democrats, we're going to talk about the inequality that has risen in this country under Democratic and Republican presidents, quite frankly, and the wages that have stagnated for decades and decades as prices go up and people get left behind. Democrats will be the party of working people in this country, and we are not going to go down every absurd rabbit hole that this majority digs in order to divide and distract us from our mission. As I've said before, and I'm going to say it again today, we will show up, and we will fight for the American people. Our allegiance is to you, the American people, not to Elon Musk, not to the billionaires and big donors, not to the oil tycoons, the insurance companies, CEOs that rip people off on a daily basis. Our allegiance is to you, the American people. And Mr. Speaker, as I said again, as I just mentioned, we will show up and we will fight tooth and nail every one of these policies that is designed to advantage those who are rich and powerful at the expense of those who work hard for a living, regular people, teachers and police officers and firefighters, people who work in factories. Those are the people who we will champion, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that their voices are heard as my Republican friends move their, agenda forward that really is about rewarding those who are well off and well connected. With that, Mr. Speaker, again, I urge a no vote on this rule. I urge a no vote on this lousy legislation, and I yield back the balance of my time.